What is going on, guys? Meteorologist Jonathan Kegges back with you on a Tuesday as Thanksgiving week continues. We have a lot to get to. Buckle up. We are going to get ready to head on a wild roller coaster ride in the temperature department over the next couple of days. First and foremost, tomorrow we are going to be cranking up the thermostat further. We're talking near record warmth across a lot of Central Florida, especially Central and South Florida, kind of closer to where we should be across North Florida. Nonetheless, everybody above average in the state, that is going to be before temperatures take a little bit of tumble. Don't want to call it a cold blast, although it is going to be quite chilly by the time we get to Thanksgiving evening, and certainly by the time you wake up on Black Friday morning. So we're going to get into all that, highlight the record warmth, and then the chill coming in, and of course, talk about the travel forecast as well. If you have any family coming in or you yourself are heading out of Central Florida tomorrow or Thursday, we are going to break all of that down. First things first, hope everybody's having a great night. We're taking a live look tonight, Yeehaw Junction, and in Baker, Florida this evening, courtesy of our friends at Weatherstem. You saw before, we also had a live look at Citrus Springs. That was right smack dab in the middle of your screen. That's just outside of Denellen and Marion County. Want to point out we have fog coming back into play. That is also going to be a thing. So if you are headed out early tomorrow, whether it's work, whether it's travel, be on the lookout for some pretty thick fog once again tomorrow to start your travel day, if that in fact is part of your plan. So here we go. Everybody in the orange tomorrow. There are no reds, so I don't foresee, at least on the cities in this map, breaking any records. However, I think we're going to get close in a few select Central Florida cities. If I have anybody tuning in from Leesburg, our record is 85. The forecast I have for Leesburg is at 84. So it's going to be close. Jacksonville, we're at 82. Tallahassee, we are at 76. Pensacola, we're at 72. Naples, we're at 82. Miami, we are at 84 degrees tomorrow. All of the orange boxes represent where temperatures are expected to be above normal, and we should blow past our averages. Now, you can tell there's a cold front coming. So here's what happens by Thursday. This is Thanksgiving Day now. Pretty wild stuff. We're still above average. The front hasn't crossed yet. South Florida. You see where the orange is, Naples, Miami, Fort Lauderdale, Fort Myers, the Keys. We are still above normal. It's going to be a toasty Thanksgiving in Miami through Naples, maybe into Sarasota even. In terms of high temperatures in Central Florida on Thursday, we are back in the lower 70s in Orlando. That's below normal. We turned blue. 65 in Jacksonville. Upper 50s for highs in Pensacola. And then Tallahassee, we are going to be checking in at 60 degrees. A closer look at Central Florida. This is again for Thanksgiving Day. Upper 60s and lower 70s across the board. With each different guidance run, model run coming through, it wants to add even further, a little bit more of a bite to it. I'll show you where the cold air mass is right now. It's always fun to try to find the cold front on these maps. I'm going to show you that on the other side of this break. In terms of Thanksgiving, though, I do think we keep the clouds. North Florida, we get sunshine early in the afternoon as that drier air comes through. Central Florida, though, I think we're in the clouds for most of the day, and then we'll see that gradual clearing as the evening goes on. But you see it there, Gainesville 67, Denellen 69, 68 degrees in Daytona. New Smyrna, we're hanging around 70. Palm Bay, we're at 72. Kissimmee, we are at 73 degrees after a start in the 60s again, so we are not moving much. Then it gets pretty chilly on Friday. It's not the coldest air we've seen. That was a couple of weeks ago still. We got into the 30s on a widespread scale. So we're not rivaling that cold. It's just when you were just in the mid-80s and now we're heading to the mid-40s, that's a 40-degree drop from tomorrow afternoon to Friday morning. Pretty sizable. Certainly a shock to the system, especially if you're going to grandma's house or something for dinner or just hanging out, going from place to place on Thursday. It's going to be nice and cool into the afternoon. This is what we wake up to, though, on Friday morning. We're talking upper 30s in Tallahassee, 47 degrees in Tampa. Miami's in the mid-60s still, so a little bit warmer. 42 in Pensacola. I do not think this chill this time around makes the iguanas fall from the trees in South Florida. I think we're just above that threshold. to see that happening. But nonetheless, it is going to be quite chilly. I want to expand this into watch the temperature drop. So this is starting tomorrow morning now. This is a Central Florida look, close up look. Wednesday morning, and this is going to be the model forecast. So watch what happens. We get back up into the low 80s, and then the tumble comes. Look at all that cooler air push back down. That's lower 70s. So this is now Thursday at lunchtime, Thanksgiving Day. Some people have dinner at this time. Post in the comments. I'd like to know, what time do you eat your Thanksgiving meal? I would love to know that. There's a variety of times, so I'm interested to know that. Temperatures by noon on Thanksgiving, if you eat your dinner at noon, we're back to the upper 60s and low 70s, and then here comes the chill. There it is, right on down the Florida Peninsula. We're talking 40s, right around 40 in Denellen, 41 in Ocala, 47 degrees in Orlando, low to mid 50s along the Space Coast. Of course, it's along the warmer Atlantic Ocean. It is typically a little bit warmer right along the afternoon, or right along the river. Okay, right along the ocean is what I'm trying to say. I was trying to do two things at once, and somehow river came out right along the Atlantic Ocean. And then these are going to be your high temperatures on Friday. So that cold front does make it to South Florida. Highs on Friday even cooler across the Florida Peninsula, though. Mid-50s in Tallahassee and Pensacola. Jacksonville, we are at 58. Mid-60s in Orlando, right around 70 in Vero Beach, and then low to mid-70s even in South Florida. So the comfortable weather is coming back for South Florida, maybe on the cooler side for North Florida. However, sunshine should be dominant on Friday after all that. Jennifer eats at 2 o'clock. That's, I think, perfect time to do that. Okay, on the other side of this break, we're going to take a look at a more widespread scale. We're going to look at the national current weather, the forecast weather if you are traveling, and I want to show you where this kind of blast of cold is coming in from. So stick around for that. I'm also going to have an update on the tropics. We're going to look at the most reliable model this season and see if it's trying to hint at any development down the line. We talked at length yesterday about all the rumblings and how that model kind of took everything out. We're going to see if that's still the case and if any development has come back in that model. I'll see you guys in about 3 minutes. Alrighty, guys. Hope you are doing well on this Tuesday evening. It is about 9:41 as we are rolling through Thanksgiving week. I want to get this part out of the way first, and then we're going to get into what I think is the cooler stuff at this point. We are out of hurricane season, or just about done with it. No new development expected over the next 7 days. Of course, if you do the math, that would take us now to December 1st, which is outside of hurricane season. So we are looking good. Again, nothing expected to develop going forward. I want to show you this now. This is just to kind of show this is the best performing model ensemble of the hurricane season, at least one of them. Google DeepMind AI model. I've been talking about it a lot. This is out through December 8th. There's nothing. We did it, guys. We did it. So if anything pops up on social media, just comment trash and continue on with your day. Okay, so here's the fun stuff. We're going to play our game of pin the tail on the cold front. And you can see the divide in temperatures. We are nice and kind of warm, 72 degrees in Orlando. Panama City, we actually have two fronts on the map. I'll show you the surface map in just one second. But the first one's in between Central Florida and Northwest Florida. So we're at 72 in Orlando, 59 in Panama City. And then the next one, the bigger one, that's the one that arrives on Thursday, is between St. Louis and Omaha, where the green turns to that darker blue. And then the core of the cold is lagging further behind that, where in Minot, North Dakota, it's 25 degrees. In International Falls, Minnesota, it is 25 degrees. So it is quite chilly up there. That's where the air is coming from. It's going to modify a little bit. So I'm not talking 20s coming to Florida, of course, but that's where the air is coming from. Again, supplied by not one, but two cold fronts. The first one is sliding through right now. It is bringing some downpours, a couple of rumbles of thunder to the Florida Panhandle, back toward Atlanta, back toward the Blue Ridge Mountains. That's going to continue to slide east. We have a stray downpour possible tomorrow as that front comes through. Otherwise, we are dry. The bigger deal is this one back here. Look at the snow. This is kind of the biggest, at least the most widespread low elevation snow event of the season so far. And that is kind of rolling on through northern Minnesota. So St. Cloud, Minnesota getting snow north of the Twin Cities, back towards Duluth, Ely, off the shores of Lake Superior, northern Wisconsin involved in that. That is going to continue to spread to the east. So really anywhere northern Wisconsin, northern Minnesota over the next several hours, that's your trouble spot. In terms of the trouble spots moving into tomorrow, it's going to be the eastern side of Wisconsin and then the eastern seaboard. So that is where I'd be most concerned with any kind of delays in terms of the airport. The yellow represents moderate delays, or moderate impacts, I should say. And the red there would be high impact. So that's going to be toward Green Bay, maybe the UP of Michigan, up in that direction with some snow, with some rain, and then the colder air starting to slice back in. So that is where I would be most concerned with any delays tomorrow. The good news is, so far, airport delays, at least from an airport perspective, have not been significant. Certainly, there are individual delays with your airlines. If you are flying out, it's obviously a good idea to check with them. But right now, across the board, we are nice and green. Again, this is at the airport themselves. So that would be like if there's any kind of ground delay, if the things are jammed up because of weather or other on the tarmac, and you have to sit there and there's a delay either taking off or you have to circle the airport for a second. There is none of that going on. So great news on that front. Relatively speaking, the weather is kind of calm again. The worst of the worst would be up towards Duluth, Minnesota right now, the Arrowhead of Minnesota, and then working into the Pacific Northwest, towards Seattle, Portland, and then in that direction. That is where things could be a little dicey over the next couple of days. So be watching that closely if you're traveling in that direction. Otherwise, I think a lot of the country is going to be pretty quiet. but we are going to be on the cool side. And when we come back after the short break, we'll take another look at some of the temperatures in Florida. If you have been, if you're joining on the later side of things, tonight, cold coming to Florida. It's going to be, I call it a short fused little round of cold, not rivaling the cold of the last time or anything like that, but it will be a little chilly on Thanksgiving, and then certainly heavy jacket worthy weather comes back on Black Friday if you're up early, maybe getting shopping done. We'll take a look at that again coming up in just about 3 minutes. Alrighty, guys, post in the comments where you're tuning in from if you have any questions. It is going to be really warm tomorrow, okay? So get ready for the roller coaster ride, the weather whiplash, if you will. We're going from the middle 80s tomorrow. Well, depending upon where you are, let me show you the high temperature forecast. Depending upon what part of Florida you're tuning in from, we're going from either the 70s to the 50s or the 80s to the 60s by the time we get into Black Friday. So kind of a wild ride here in the temperature department. These are the highs for tomorrow. So if you're doing some Thanksgiving shopping, getting some last minute items on the grocery list, it's going to be warm. It's going to be nice. We will have a couple of downpours possible moving through as a weak cold front slides through. And that's why we have the difference in temperature between Tampa, Orlando, Jacksonville, and then back to the panhandle as some of that cooler air, relatively speaking anyway, slides in. Look at what happens, though, on Thursday, Thanksgiving Day. We're talking about air temperatures now in the 70s or cooler. So we're back to mid 60s in Jacksonville, upper 50s and low 60s in Tallahassee, and then staying in the 80s. So, I mean, if you were driving maybe from Pensacola to Miami, I mean, that's a long drive, but kind of two different climates, and you're passing through a third. So you're going through all seasons depending upon what part of the state you are in. So kind of a wild ride there as that front moves from north to south. And then I just wanted to show you guys again the chill that sets in as we move into Friday, 30s and 40s from Central Florida into the Panhandle. Still relatively mild. It's going to be cool, at least relative to us in South Florida, but it's not going to be chilly enough to allow the iguanas to fall back from the trees. So that's going to be on Friday morning. And then Friday afternoon should be the coolest afternoon of the bunch. We'll get rid of the gray skies from Thanksgiving, at least in the Central Florida area. Sunshine should be dominant on Friday, but it is going to be on the cooler side. You see, all the blue boxes represent where we have below average temperatures. That's 50s, 60s, and 70s. And then it's all relative to what the average is in your neighborhood. Alrighty, guys, that about does it for the show this evening. We are going to talk much more about the Central Florida forecast. We're going to go hour by hour for Thanksgiving Day, talk about the temperature drop that we highlighted on here in a little more detail for you if you are in the greater Central Florida area. Keep it parked right here if you're watching on News 6 Plus. We'll be up in just a few minutes. And then, of course, News 6 at 11, we're going to have the latest model data coming in, so we'll see if we have to tweak the forecast even further as the data kind of catches on to this short fused chill, but it is going to be cold by the time you wake up on Friday morning. And again, Thursday, Thanksgiving Day is on the cooler side. Alrighty, guys, catch you right back here tomorrow at 9:30. Hope everybody has a great night. We'll see you then.